So we're literally at the end of the March Against Monsanto here in downtown Toronto, and I have the pleasure of speaking to the organizers of this march, James and Jennifer. Let me ask you this, what inspired you to get involved in something like this in the first place?
Well, Jennifer and I met back in September of last year. We responded to the Occupy Monsanto was having a global thing at the time, and it was poorly organized, and we showed up. There was only 9 of us, and the person who posted on their Facebook page did nothing to promote it. So we just basically put our heads together, and at the end of the day, we went home and took over the website and
created
Millions Against Monsanto Toronto. And we've gone from 9 members to close to 3,000 in less than a year. And when the Global March Against Monsanto came up, we just had to do it. I mean, this has turned out to be a historical march. It's one of the biggest global rallies of any kind ever.
So are you in the health and wellness movement, or why would you take this on?
Well, for me personally, I was doing some research. I work for the Board of Education, and I'm off all summer, and I was doing some research about wheat, because my mother was reading a book called Wheat Belly, and that led me to a film called The World According to Monsanto, which then led me to Genetic Roulette and several other things. And the more I learned, the more enraged I became that this was happening, and I thought more people need to know about this.
Right, and my background came from, my mother has several autoimmune diseases, and I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease in the late 90s, and I had no idea that, what it could have been caused from until more recently. But after I had my daughter, I just started studying more about natural health, and I realized that there's a lot more going on here than meets the eye, and I just went strictly organic, and that's been about 10 or 12 years now I've been eating organics. But now to get involved in the GMOs, I moved to Toronto 2 years ago, and I decided I just wanted to get involved with activism, and that's what James was saying. I went to the protest rally, and when I saw there was only 9 people, I said, we have to do something, we have to do this. So it just grew and grew, and today was all about creating awareness, and I think we achieved that goal with, there were over 1,000 people, I'd say, here. And and it ranged from people who were, knew a lot about the issue to those, I think, that had just come on newly and just learning what genetically modified organisms are. So it's struck a chord with me personally now that I'm a mother. I had a lot of allergies when I was growing up. I was an overweight child, and I want to make sure that my daughter grows up in a healthy world and a healthy earth, and for generations to come. And Monsanto is doing everything in its power to make that not happen by what they're doing to pollute the earth and pollute the soil and patent the seeds and control the food system. And we're their biggest fear. Millions Against Monsanto are their biggest fear. Thousands of people are marching today, and we just wanted to be a part of it. It was a natural fit. There's a lot of activist groups that, we did a GMO rally against alfalfa in April, and, when this particular march came up, being that it was a march against Monsanto, there were a lot of groups that didn't want to take it on. It has kind of a negative connotation, but we felt that our group, it was just a natural fit, because it was just a natural fit that we needed to speak up and take ownership of it and get everyone involved.
So do you think you accomplished your aims to get the word out?
I think definitely. We blocked Queen Street for half an hour. Streetcars were backed up.
There were probably literally hundreds of photographers here today. Whether or not they were just personal photographers, I don't think so, because I noticed, when we were giving interviews, people were photographing us giving interviews, and We've talked to a lot of people, so it's a really, I can't wait to get home tonight to see what the media actually, has to say about it. Our rally in April, I don't want to point any names out, but can I say the CBC covered it, and it had a completely different angle than what we were hoping for, basically indicating that Canadians weren't serious enough about the issue to make the government take notice, and we found that very offensive because there were over 250 of us that day boycotting alfalfa, and ultimately Monsanto decided not to release alfalfa in Canada this year, so we have another year to try to convince Parliament to keep that as a permanent decision. So I think it was a very successful rally, and I think today was a very incredibly successful march.
All right.
This was beyond anything that I could have ever imagined.
You can't imagine. It was like from 9 to 1,000 people.
That's a huge.
The energy was just, people were like ready to hear from us, and I wanted. It was like almost like a wedding. So much anticipation building up to it, and I feel like it was like over so quickly. I wanted it to last all day.
So to continue this movement, do you have contact info, or what other activities or events do you have planned?
Well, next week we're co-hosting the Kids Right to Know Walk with Rachel Parent. That's taking place at Queen's Park, I believe.
Yeah, and I think they're meeting Young and Bloor and marching to, they're part of the veggie parade in the city, and basically it's really geared toward families and parents who are fighting for, and teens, really, and kids' right to know what's in their food.
Educating the young is one of the best things that we can do. So the next generation.
And you're a teacher, so...
Yeah, and I work with autistic students, actually. And autism is one of the things that is caused by genetically modified organisms and pesticides and vaccines.
I mean, there's so many studies now that I just don't see how it can be ignored anymore. Whether they're long-term studies, there's a lot of short-term studies that have been showing the direct link to inflammation and all of this autoimmune disease, gastrointestinal disease, cancer, autism, obesity. I mean, it just goes on and on and on.
Okay.
And
so for more information, website
would
be?
Go to our website, Millions Against Monsanto Toronto.
On Facebook.
And
it's also on Twitter, is MAM Toronto, and we have international following, I would say, on our page. So it's not just Torontonians, it's definitely an international following, and we are constantly putting the most recent information up. And also we're going to be working with so many different organizations now that they've seen that what we can do, what we're capable of, and they're interested in working with us. So it's really,
I think once all of these groups come together, we have more power in numbers, and it's definitely growing. Like today, for example, we had several different groups here. We had the Kids Right to Know, we had the Occupy Gardens.
No more GMOs. Even the Organic Council of Ontario was here. They weren't able to speak at the rally, but spoke at the gardens, and we do have their support. And
we will be marching in the Toronto Pride. Gay Pride too.
So we're just kind of...
And that's an audience of several million people.
Yeah.
So that's definitely, our mandate is information sharing and awareness. So
exactly. This is not the
education, as you so aptly know.
Education is
great.
key.
Well, so much for your time and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you for the food for thought.